Joining us right now from ESPN, the man who covers the Green Bay Packers for ESPN NFL Nation is Rob Demovsky here on the Rich Eisen Show, calling in from Wisconsin. How are you, Rob?
I'm doing well, Rich. How are you?
I am doing fine. All right, I'm turning to you for my interpreter. You speak fluent Rodgers. So interpret what he said on SportsCenter Monday night and his farewell to Kenny Mayne appearance. What do you got for me, Rob?
It's a language that I have been studying for 16 years now, and I feel like I am somewhat fluent in it. And with all things Rodgers, it's not necessarily what he says, it's what he doesn't say. And who didn't he say that he loves in that clip, right? He said he loved the fans, he loved the coaches, he loves his teammates. I never heard the words Brian Gutekunst or Mark Murphy, that would be the general manager and the president of the Packers. And when he talked about doing things the right way, you have to read in that he believes that those two people did not do things the right way when it came to treating him. And this goes back to, obviously, the Jordan Love pick, nothing personal to Love. But we know that Brian Gutekunst never gave Rodgers the heads up that not only might they be picking a quarterback, but that they would trade up in the first round to do so.
So let's dig in a little bit here, because I think he said the word people more than a dozen times last night. And is he referring to himself as the people of the organization, or are there others in the organization that he knows that he feels have been slighted and he's taking up for a larger cause? Or is this just about what's going on with him?
I think it's more what's going on with him. And you're right. I think it was 14 times. Our Kevin Seifert, the crack national reporter, must have time on his hands, because I saw him tweet that it was 14 times he used the word people. But I would say this, this is a selfish business, and that's not a criticism of Rodgers. That's not a criticism of any player. But players are selfish. They want to be treated the way that they deserve and think that they are to be treated. I'm sitting, outside of Lambeau Field right now, and you look at this monster stadium, and I guarantee you Brett Favre probably feels like, hey, if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't have been able to renovate that stadium in 2001 and 2002. And then to the west of the stadium is this massive Titletown district, and when Aaron Rodgers drives in from his house in Green Bay, that's what he sees, and he probably says to himself, they wouldn't have built this if it wasn't for me. I made all these people rich, and I made this organization successful. And in some ways, they're right. Without those two guys, Green Bay isn't what it is right now, and this stadium isn't one of the true gems in the NFL, and this town isn't built up as a tourist attraction if those guys don't do what they did. So there is some entitlement that maybe is deserved.
Rob Demovsky, Packers reporter, been covering the team since 1997, now with the worldwide leader in sports, kind enough to call in today as there is the OTA on-field practice for a second straight day, and Rodgers, it was funny, he confirmed he's not there as he's sitting on his phone, zooming in from Hawaii for Kenny. And, let's talk about what we can take out of this, what we can confirm about what we assume this whole kerfuffle has been about, based on what that one portion of the interview where they, he did as allow something to be said on it. It was funny because Kenny pushed back at one point, asked him, are you demanding a trade? And he said, I've said all I wanted to say. Let's talk about you right now.
Exactly.
So you picked up on that also. So what can we confirm? Because he said it wasn't about the draft pick. And as I said at the top of the show, Rob, these are not mutually exclusive things. He can still love Jordan Love. We had Aaron Jones on the show, talked about how he's seen him personally mentor, coach up Jordan Love. So he can love the kid, but doesn't love the fact that the kid was brought in the manner in which he was brought in.
Right.
So can we confirm that this is about the draft pick? This is what it was about, or there's something else? Kumaro? I mean, you hear all this stuff. What can we glean from last night, Rob?
Here's what it comes down to, Rich, is that Rodgers thinks that he has earned the right to control when things end in Green Bay. And now the decision to pick Love, to trade up to do it, as he said shortly after it happened, made it probably not a reality that he could control the way things end. And when he went out, he was a good soldier all last year, right? It was this, he had this sort of whatever will be mentality. All the while he was marching his way to his third MVP. And I think once he sort of proved to everybody that, you know what, I am still the best or one of the best in the game. And yes, in 2018, under Mike McCarthy, my last year, I wasn't all that engaged. And in 2019, I was learning a new system. But now, with Matt LaFleur's system, completely under his belt, he went out and played like an MVP that he was. And now he probably feels like he's got the control back in his corner, right? So I think that's what it's about. It's about not wanting to be a lame duck quarterback. They wouldn't commit to him initially this offseason beyond this year, and he didn't want to be a lame duck guy going into 2021 with the possibility that they were going to move on to Jordan Love in 2022. And to me, all that other stuff is minor in comparison to that fact that he no longer felt like he had control over his own future and that he felt like he deserved control over that future.
So then let's use the phrase that Kenny did in the interview last night about what's still left on the table that could be cleared off, and then let's focus on the table. So is a long-term commitment contract that by the terms and dollars precludes Jordan Love from getting on the field in time for the Packers to make a decision on whether he's worthy of a fifth-year option pickup after year 3. Is that what would fix what's wrong with the organization with people? Or is it something bigger?
It would have, in January when this came about, and they initially balked at that. They did not. They were only offered, from what we've reported, they've only offered a minor restructure at that point, which further sent Rodgers, down this rabbit hole. And then by the time that they got around to offering him the lucrative deal that would both take care of him financially, but also ensure that they were committed to him for more than just 2021. By that time, he said no. So we're at the point now where I'm not sure what fixes this. Maybe there's two things, Rich. Maybe it's that, public sentiment, which is already somewhat against him in Green Bay. Maybe, he is concerned about his legacy. That's important to him. Maybe he gets the wind that people will turn and have turned against him. Maybe that could bring him back. Or two, maybe it's pressure from his teammates saying, hey, we all restructured our deals. There were 6 or 8 guys that restructured their deals to make another run at it in 2021 so they can keep this team together. Does there come a point where those guys say, we did this, now you got to come and help us do what we did, what we want to do to get us back to a Super Bowl? And maybe there's pressure from the teammates. We haven't seen that yet, but at what point I don't want to say do they turn on him, Rich, but at some point does that happen and that his teammates start to say, hey, we're here trying to get it done, and why aren't you here with us?
So you're saying, Rob Demovsky, that part of what can get Rodgers to stay in Green Bay is if fans start talking to Rodgers in the same way that Kenny signed off on him last night.
Yes, that would be that would help.
Okay.
The interesting contrast, real quick, is when Favre wanted to come back in 2008, he unretired. The fan sentiment was so behind Brett, right? And it was because he wanted to be here. The fact that Rodgers doesn't want to be here has had the opposite effect, I think, and has turned some fans, not saying all, but some, against him.
I mean, that's pretty darn quick too, Rob. I mean, there has been 16 years built up here, yes. and he does have the right to figure out his own end game in the place that he's built his home for 16 years. And there should be a consequence upon the general manager who doesn't call him to let him know, hey, heads up, the words that's going to come out of Roger Goodell's mouth are going to piss you off. And, hey, when it's all over, after you do take us to the NFC Championship game at home, mind you, we're not going to commit longer than just this year. And, he's smart enough to read the writing on the wall and do the math and know when he's managed. I mean, what do you expect out of that guy?
No question. And it was a huge mistake by management, last April to not communicate with them. And whatever excuse you can have, it was a virtual draft or things changed quickly. It was in the end that will end up being maybe the mistake that ends his time here.
So then let's talk about the here and now before I let you go, Rob. Is that there is an OTA that's going on You mentioned before that maybe some teammates might say, hey, where are you? I'm imagining this is way too early for that. There is a mandatory OTA that's coming up in June. Walk me through what you expect today when the coach is meeting, I imagine, with the media, and what you expect over the next couple of weeks then, Rob.
After practice, we'll hear from Matt LaFleur and 3 players, Adrian Amos, Kenny Clark, and Aaron Jones. Noticeably absent on that list is, of course, Jordan Love, who we'd all like to hear from. But we will all be watching Jordan Love at every open opportunity, this year because, look, they have to prepare him now, and Matt LaFleur told us this a couple of weeks ago. They have to prepare Jordan Love like he's the starter, and not just because of what Aaron Rodgers is up against, but because that's the job of a backup, and he goes from third string last year to second string this year. But it'll be very interesting to see what reaction, if any, his coach and his teammates have to what Rodgers said last night on SportsCenter with Kenny May. And that's, to me, I guess what I'm looking for most. One, watching Jordan Love, and 2, hearing how guys react to what Rodgers said.
Now, you think, because Aaron is very smart and wise and also savvy, obviously wanted to say farewell to his friend. But do you think the fact that Kenny said, hey, how about the day before the coach speaks at OTAs, that's when you come on, like that appealed to Aaron from Hawaii, do you think, in a way, Rob?
Timing is everything in this business, isn't it, Rich?
Well, and I guess the last one for you is Jordan Love. I mean, when I did have Aaron Jones on the show a couple weeks ago, I asked him, what about this kid? And again, he said that he's a good teammate and a good person, and who Aaron Jones is as well. And that Rodgers, he sees him coaching him up. I mean, this can't be like, let's trade up to draft a kid.
Yeah.
He doesn't dress at all. And then all that's addressed of him is the guy we've pissed off to put Rodgers in the role of Favre and this kid in the role of Rodgers. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What is going on with him?
The one thing I will say about Rodgers is, remember when Favre said, it doesn't say anywhere in my contract that I have to mentor Aaron Rodgers? Well, Jordan Love did not get that treatment from Rodgers. Rodgers, definitely was good to him from what we could see. It's a hard spot. The 2 people I think that are in the most difficult position here are Matt LaFleur, because he wants to win, right? And he knows his best chance to win is with Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
And then Jordan Love is the other guy in the most difficult spot, because their plan, Rich, was to bring him along slowly and not play in 2021. He would be the third stringer as a rookie, which he was, and then he would be the backup this year, and was going to be a slow education. And now that education is massively accelerated, combined with the fact that there were no preseason games last year. Training camp was incredibly short. There were no on-field workouts. So it's almost like when they showed up yesterday for OTAs, it was almost like Jordan Love was a rookie going through all of this for the first time, because, quite frankly, he didn't go through any of this last year. So it's probably another reason that they brought Blake Bortles in to help Jordan Love. And don't forget, just because Rodgers, if he doesn't show up and isn't the quarterback for whether he retires, is traded, whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean Love is the guy. Blake Bortles is here for a reason.
Well, and I guess there's the other one who's in a tough spot, and that's Gutekunst, obviously. You mentioned, Rob, the 2 that are on the field. I mean, I imagine he has no intention of trading Rodgers and is going to try and play this thing out, because I imagine there is no sense at all from Mark Murphy that maybe getting rid of Gutekunst will actually fix this. Like, they will choose the organization over Rodgers if it comes down to it, right?
Yes, and I said this on Get Up this morning. From what I was told, Murphy within the organization has, reaffirmed the fact that Gutekunst is staying. He is the general manager, and that, no matter what, is not going to change.
And, of course, that would piss off Rodgers as he drives in and sees Titletown, that general managers don't build title towns.
I do occasionally, Rich, drive by Rodgers' house on the west side of Green Bay just to make sure there's not a for sale sign. And I can tell you this, that I did drive by yesterday because it's right near the gym where my kids' AAU basketball team practices. So I go by there like twice a week. And every day I look to my left as I pass it, and there's not a for sale sign.
Okay. And it looks lived in still, right? I mean, it's not the lawn's taken care of, at least, I'm sure.
Well, it's gated, and the fence has a tarp on it, so I really can't quite see it.
All right.
But
And
I
then,
will let you know if I see a Century 21 or whatever sign pop up in front of it.
Rob, I appreciate the time. Look for my call. We'll keep chatting. I really appreciate it, Rob. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Rich.
That's Rob Demovsky calling in from Green Bay, Wisconsin, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.